What's up guys, I'm Twisted Skinz and you've tuned into the channel that's passionate about PC, whatever your budget. If you're looking to play some awesome games on that decrepit excuse of a PC, you've come to the right place. I feel that there has been far too much emphasis on the latest and greatest hardware. I mean, it goes without saying everyone would love to play on a high-end multi-GPU setup, but let's be realistic. What about you guys who don't have the luxury of spending £1,000 on a graphics card, or even a PC for that matter? This video is going to be about 3 fantastic games that you can run on practically any PC within the last 7 years. None of the games require more than a decent dual-core processor, 4GB of memory and a 1GB graphics card, which if you don't already have, can be picked up for about £50 or less on eBay. Something like a GTX 750 Ti springs to mind. I'll progress through each game in order of requirement from the least to the most demanding. Quite frankly though, you're not going to care if you can play any of these games at ultra settings 4K resolution. This is all about immersion. So let's get started with my first recommendation. First up we have Mass Effect 2, which is arguably the best of the trilogy to date. Whilst this game is now 6 years old, it has aged pretty well. After the initial rather tragic introduction, you get to customise the main character Shepard with a plethora of options. These include 6 different classes that can be fine-tuned to your preference. All have their own unique set of pros and cons which will add to the replay value should you wish to try a different class on your next playthrough. Many of you with an appetite for third-person shooters will relish the intense and responsive action. Others will revel in the cinematic cutscenes, superb voice acting and dialogue. I have played far too many games with cookie-cutter characters which are lacking in dimension. Thankfully this is not the case with Mass Effect 2. There is real depth behind the characters which helps them come to life and enhances their credibility. There'll be some rather testing moral choices along the way, but again this will only make the story all that more authentic. If a combination of fantastic storytelling and high-octane action sounds appealing, then definitely be sure to check it out. It is currently free for download on Origin, so get it whilst you still can. If you don't manage to get it for free though, I've seen it for around about £2 or £3. The minimum specs required to run this are an Intel 2.6GHz dual-core processor or AMD's equivalent, 2GB of memory and a graphics card with 256MB of VRAM or higher, for example Nvidia's 8800 GT or Radeon's 2900 XT. For those of you who have been living under a rock for the last 3 years, Blizzard Entertainment, the developers who brought you World of Warcraft, have also brought out an online card collecting game called HEARTHSTONE. This turn-based strategy game has become insanely popular with peaks of 50 million players worldwide, and for very good reason. Whilst the initial training through the Innkeeper can be rather daunting for some and grindy for others, you will soon pick up the general gameplay mechanics and start having fun. Once all game options are unlocked, you will have 4 game modes and 9 different classes to choose between. Each has their own unique hero power and class-specific cards. The Innkeeper is basically for new recruits and will teach you the fundamentals of Hearthstone. Ladder is by far the most popular choice as you pit your wits against other players online. This rewards those players who can consistently win by ranking you up, but don't expect players to go easy on you as you start approaching rank 5 and above, as the ultimate goal for any player is to hit legend rank and join the elite 0.5%. However, if all that grinding on the ladder gets too much for you, you can take a brief moment of respite by playing the weekly Tavern Brawl. This is where the standard rules are turned on their head and some outrageous comebacks can be witnessed. The rules change each week, which definitely adds to the diversity of this game mode. Finally we have Arena, which is arguably the most skillful mode. This lets the player choose from a selection of random cards to hopefully make a synergistic deck and take it all the way to 12 wins. With each consecutive win, the greater your rewards will be. These can be in the form of dust to craft new cards, gold to purchase new packs or adventures, and cards themselves. To run Hearthstone on minimum settings you will need an Intel Pentium or AMD Athlon dual-core processor, 2GB of memory and a 256MB video card or better, for example Nvidia's GeForce 6800 or Radeon's 1600 Pro. Best of all guys, this is a free-to-play game and you don't get better than free-to-play when you're on a budget. Maybe none of the games so far tickle your fancy. Well, this is where Ori and the Blind Forest comes in. This often overlooked game seamlessly blends rich artistic style with emotional and compelling storytelling. In actual fact, Moon Studios were awarded with a BAFTA award for artistic achievement, and once you start playing you'll understand why. It features some of the most beautiful landscapes, lighting and music of any single player platformer I've had the pleasure to play. The tale of Ori the White Guardian Spirit is an interesting one, but I'm not going to say too much, I'll let you discover that for yourself. In order to progress through the game, you'll have to exhibit great dexterity, as the timing of your jumps becomes crucial to avoid enemy attacks and reach higher grounds. Enemies blend into the environment due to the clever artistic design and style, so if you're not paying attention, it's easy to come a cropper. It is not immediately obvious of Ori's limitations when first playing, but as you unlock additional abilities, it becomes apparent that you may want to replay earlier stages and gain access to areas that were previously out of reach. This style is very reminiscent of one of my favourite golden oldies, Super Metroid, which I adored 20 years ago on the SNES. The level of difficulty can be changed now since they've recently released the Definitive Edition. Left at the default level, I would say the developers have got the balance spot on. However, those of you looking for a greater challenge in the vein of Dark Souls or Castlevania, there are both hard and one life settings available. Patience, exploration and vigilance will stand you in good stead for this unique and satisfying experience. The minimum requirements to run the Definitive Edition are a dual-core Intel or AMD processor at 2.2 and 2.8 GHz respectively, 4GB of memory and a graphics card with 1GB of VRAM or higher, something like GeForce 240 GT or Radeon's HD 6570. Well, that about wraps it up for our 3 games, which proves that you don't need a high-end PC to have fun. Like or dislike this video and be sure to let me know in the comments section some of the games you've been playing with low-spec hardware. If you haven't already, subscribe for more great content like this, and remember to stay passionate about PC, whatever your budget, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.